Good morning all. Welcome back to my class. Today we are going to learn a new lesson, Expert Detectives. This story is written by Sharada Dwivedi. She was an Indian author, historian and researcher. Nishad and his 10 years old sister Maya had always been inquisitive about their neighbor Mr. Nath. He was a patient of their mother who was a doctor by profession. Nishad was also called Seven because his name meant the seven note on the musical scale. Turn your textbook to page number 85. Look at the textbook I am going to read. As we walked back towards the clinic, Seven said, "He doesn't look anything like a monster." Maya, "But did you see how thin he is? Maybe he is very poor and can't afford to eat." "He can't be poor if he is a crook on the run," I told him. "He's probably got millions of rupees stashed away somewhere in that room." "Do you really think he's a criminal, Maya?" "He doesn't look like one." Nishad looked doubtful. "Of course he is one, Seven," I said. "And he certainly isn't starving. Mr. Mehta told us that Ramesh brings his meals up from the restaurant downstairs." "But Maya, Mr. Mehta told us he doesn't work anywhere. So how can he possibly have money to pay for food?" Nishad said. "Exactly," I exclaimed. "He must have loads of money hidden somewhere. Maybe in that trunk in his room. It's probably full of silver and gold and jewels and—" "What rubbish!" Nishad interrupted. "I know, I'm right. Stupid," I told him. "By the way, Seven, did you see his scars?" I couldn't. It was too dark, but I bet he got them during a shootout with the police or something. Mummy told us quite clearly they were burn scars," Nishad said firmly. "Perhaps the police had to set his house on fire to force him out," I suggested. Seven looked unsure. "I am going to explain, so listen." The two children were busy discussing about their mysterious neighbor. They argued about his financial wealth, how he managed his food, and so on. Nishad thought that he was poor and didn't have much money, while Maya believed that he had got a lot of it and had kept it hidden somewhere in his room. Then it was Mr. Nath's car that bothered the children. Maya thought that he might have got during a shootout with the police. But Nishad was not ready to accept her. His mummy had told him that there were burn scars. Look at the textbook I am going to read. On the Monday following Mama's birthday, Seven went alone with her to the clinic at Girgaon as I was spending the evening with a school friend. When they returned, Nishad told me he had been to see Mr. Nath, and I felt most annoyed that I hadn't been there. Seven had been quite upset about Mr. Nath's gaunt appearance and was sure that he was starving. He told me that he had knocked loudly on Mr. Nath's door that evening and said, "Open the door quickly, Mr. Nath." The man had opened it and asked him, "Lost another marble?" He had obviously recognized my brother. "No," said Nishad. He had taken the man's hand in his own and thrust a bar of chocolate into it. "Did you get a chance to peek into the trunk, Seven?" I asked. Nishad looked disappointed. "He didn't even ask me in," he said. Then he smiled. "But I did find out something, Maya. I went down to the restaurant where Ramesh works and talked to him." "Good for you, Mr. Detective," I said, patting him on the back. "I hope you questioned him properly." Seven looked pleased. "Ramesh told me that he takes 2 meals for Mr. Nath every morning and evening, and 2 cups of tea, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. Ramesh says he's not very particular about what he eats. It's always the same food, 2 chapatis, some dal and a vegetable. Mr. Nath pays cash and tips well. Ramesh told me something very strange, Maya. 7 added. Almost every Sundays he carries 2 lunches to Mr. Nath's room and the same man is with him each time. He is tall, fair, stout and wears spectacles. Ramesh says his visitor talks a lot, unlike Mr. Nath who hardly speaks. I am going to explain, so listen. On her mother's birthday, Nishad went along her to the clinic. He happened to see Mr. Nath there. He was worried seeing Mr. Nath's gaunt appearance. In the evening, Nishad went to Mr. Nath's place and knocked the door loudly. The man had opened the door. Nishad gave a bar of chocolate to Mr. Nath, but he couldn't enter the room to find out the trunk. He went down to the restaurant to see Ramesh, the boy who used to bring food for Mr. Nath. Ramesh informed him that Mr. Nath had 2 meals a day and 2 cups of tea in the morning and evening. His meal was the same every day and always used to pay in cash and tips as well. Ramesh told a strange thing to him. He bought 2 lunches in Sunday and it was the same visitor he saw there. The visitor was a tall, stout and spectacled man who talked a lot, but Mr. Nath was a quiet person. Look at the textbook I am going to read. Well done, Nishad, I told him. Now that we have made some progress with our inquiries, we will have to sort out all the facts like expert detectives so that we can trap the crook. How you do go on, Maya? 7 sighed. How can you possibly imagine he is a crook? He looks so ordinary. Criminals can look quite ordinary, smarty. I retorted. Retorted means say something in answer to a remark. Did you see the picture of the Hyderabadi housebreaker in the papers yesterday? He looked like any man on the street. Nishad looked doubtful. The monsoons broke the next day. Dark clouds accompanied by blinding flashes of lightning and roaring rolls of thunder burst with all their fury, flooding the street with a heavy downpour. School was to have reopened after the summer holidays, but no traffic could move through the flooded roads and there was an unexpected holiday. I thought I would spend the time usefully. I sat at my desk in our bedroom with a sheet of paper before me. I am going to explain, so listen. Maya said that there was some progress happened in their inquiries. So she wanted to sort out all the facts about Mr. Nath like expert detectives. Then only they could trap the man. But Nishad was not ready to accept Mr. Nath was a crook. For proving that he was a crook, she gave an example to Nishad. Their school opened after the summer holidays. Because of flood, the traffic could not move through the roads, so they got an unexpected holiday. Maya thought she would spend the time usefully. She sat at her desk with a sheet of paper to note down the facts about Mr. Nath. That's all for the day, thank you.